Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Taft City Council and Successor Agency, a joint regular meeting for Tuesday, December 15th, 2015, here at City Hall. Please check your cell phones and make sure they're on mute or on vibrate, please. Any writings or documents provided to a majority of the City Council regarding any item on this agenda are made available at public inspection in the lobby at the Taft City Hall. We'll open our meeting with a Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Hill, would you lead us tonight? And our invocation with Scott Pearson with the First Baptist Church.
Salute and pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you that in this Christmas season that you can reveal to us. We pray that you would reveal to us your gracious love and mercy. We thank you for each of our city council members and pray that you would work through them to lead our city, to govern in the way that is right. And we pray, God, always for your blessings upon our city of Taft as we seek to honor you in our lives. Thank you for your presence here in this place. In the name of Christ we pray. Amen. Amen.
Thank you so much, Scott.
You're welcome.
Councilman Hill, thank you. Madam Clerk, will you take roll call, please?
Yes. Mayor Miller.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Noor.
Here.
Councilmember Cryer.
Here.
Councilmember Bryant.
Here.
And Councilmember Hill. Here.
Oh, we're all here and ready to rock. So move on to item number 1, public hearing, General Plan Amendment 2015-01, Housing Element 2015-2023. Mr. Jones.
I'll just turn it over to Mark Staples, Planning Director, City of Taft.
All right, Mark.
Thank you. Apologize for being a little tardy there. The item before you this evening, as you mentioned, is General Plan Amendment 2015-01 for Housing Element 2015 to 2023. I'll try to be brief on this. As you can see in the staff report I provided for you, I tried to summarize in 2 pages or less some of the process that we went through for this housing element. First of all, as you can see in the first subparagraph there for public participation, we utilize the Planning Commission at their monthly meetings as, in effect, a housing element committee. Part of the process for updating the housing element from the 2008 to 2013 version to this new one was to, the way the state set the guidelines was we could just revise the prior document. We didn't have to rewrite the entire document from front to back. So, so over time, since I was the only staff doing the editing on the document, I just piecemealed it. I worked my way through and edited the data and the tables and whatnot that you see in the final document before you. In addition to that, we did hold some public meetings in late August and early September. Fortunately, we did have somewhat of a low turnout, but in addition to that, we did create an online survey, but we did have a good turnout on that. We had over 160 people respond to the online survey. That gave us a lot of input on how they see the city, what their current living conditions are, but it was mostly folks who had lived here for a long time, 20 or more years, single family residents, and most people own their own home. But they gave us a lot of input with regards to their opinion on the Rails and Trails area and what should be developed there when it comes to residential uses. Along those lines with the Rails and Trails area, the second subparagraph there on your report, the adequate sites inventory. I updated that from the last document as it didn't look at all the residential zone properties that were in the city of Taft, and so I updated it there, and you can see at the end of the document we found capacity of up to over 2,000 units among all those properties. We looked at the R1, R2, R3, and the mixed use area, and the mixed use area is heavy within the Rails and Trails area. Now, it's not what's going to happen because there's some commercial options in that area, so I did discuss that as well in the document, that some of that residential capacity may not be realized because of the commercial component. So we did cover that, and we only needed to meet the RENA of 254 units. And at the end of that, I did list the the available multifamily units, in that how it exceeded the availability of affordable housing to be built in Taft, and that's one of the key things that HCD looks at. With the housing element programs, we pretty much carry over much of the same programs from the prior document, just updated to the current one. Programs that we have, our city clerk / grants administrator is running the first-time homebuyer and rehab programs, and really the only new ones that we've added were for reasonable accommodation for handicapped persons, and pursuing more funding sources to help affordable housing be built in Taft. In addition to that, we had to make sure that it was consistent with the general plan, and it is generally consistent with the land use element of the general plan. But if you looked at the adequate sites inventory, the list, far right column had some notes of actions or other things that could happen, in that the zoning code doesn't quite max out the available residential density that's allowed in the general plan. The single family short 1 or 2 units per acre, and the R3 and mixed use zones are about 4 units short. But that doesn't make it inconsistent with the land use element. And then last but not least, and I'll pass this out to you, the most important thing, which, let's see here. The last 2 sections here, 2 handouts I'm giving to you. This is the HCD, and then this is the environment. We were on a pretty tight deadline to get this approved, in that all Kern County cities and Kern County planning had to have this update to their councils and boards by December 31st of this year. So once I realized it was getting towards the end of the year, I knew I needed to get this out for review, both on the environmental side and to Housing and Community Development to review the edit on the housing element document itself, and State Clearinghouse for the initial study. And what you have before you is the letter from Housing and Community Development. Unfortunately, the way they word their letters, it doesn't necessarily say, "We approve your housing element." The second paragraph, I believe, says it's statutory compliant with state law. That's what they mean by approved. And then the other letter is the CEQA document, which basically says they received no comments from state agencies regarding the document. So we cleared HCD and we cleared CEQA. So with that, I won't go any further on the document. I'll just leave it to any questions you may have. But as you can see, there are 2 motions. We do have, or 3 actions. One, to hold a public hearing, which we have to do. Then second, you'll need to make the motion on the environmental document first. And then the second motion is on the actual general plan amendment for the housing element. And then just a little bit of housekeeping, if you want to jot this down. If you were having trouble finding the documents digitally, I looked at it today, and it's out of sequence as the list of attachments you have on your staff report. So if you need any help finding that, let me know. I'll tell you what page it is on your iPads there. And
How many pages was the total document?
probably 150 plus.
And how many, and this is the housing element, how many elements are in the general plan?
There's a required 7, and I believe
7.
we have about 9. We have, no, we have 10. We have an economic, a sustainability element, and I forgot what the third one was, but those are in addition.
Approximately 10 elements of the general plan, of which this housing element is one, and 150 pages.
When the strike through and underlines are gone, I got it down to 94. I have a
there
clean
you go.
copy ready to publish and send off to HCD. So
94,
once you clear all that, it brought it down. The prior document was 80 or so. And you'll see far larger ones. The larger the city gets, the more complex they need to do their review to show how they're gonna meet that RENA number. We are fortunate that 254 was our number. It's kinda high for the way things have been building, but with the housing tract on the west side, we should be able to hit that number just fine. But other cities have to do some unique programs to reach
And to
theirs.
be a city in this state, you have to have the general plan in
Correct.
place. Right now, our general plan is tied up in court, but we're still proceeding and getting
That is what we're
elements
referencing in the
approved.
document, though. What, all the references to land use designations is to that general plan, because that's what our zoning was tiered off as well when all that happened at the same time from 2008, 9, 10, when all that stuff was updated at the same time. So that's what it references in that document.
And the worry then was urban sprawl, and
Yes.
we don't have urban sprawl in this element.
No
Stretching out
You know,
resources.
So we wish we had some sprawl. We've got some sprawl going out to the west side, so that's good. So, yeah, done a great job on it. So unless anybody's got some questions for Mark, I'll open up the public hearing.
I did have one.
Oh, wait a minute, we got one. Mark, we got
Just
Mr. Bryan.
if you could just let us know for the layman, what is the housing element? What does it tell us?
The housing element is just as general as the general plan is. It lays out the goals and strategies for accommodating what's assumed to be built or the growth of the city. It generally is somewhat maybe overshot a bit, but it's better to overshoot and figure out how you can plan for it than to underestimate what might come to your town. So a coordinated effort between our current COG and HCD, which is the Department of Housing and Community Development, which is a state agency. They work together and keeping an eye on the census data. So we'll hit the next one in 2020 before the next one is. So that will help them figure out what the next growth spurt will be after 2023. And this housing element is just a plan identifying the available properties and programs in the state to accommodate all the income types. It is heavy on the affordable or what you would consider low or very low income groups, but that tends to be more so because there's so many grant funded programs and things to assist those folks. But it is intended for all the income groups and the plans and strategies and how to accomplish that and what properties.
It's somewhat of a crystal ball, but
Yes.
they're looking into the future, and when you never know how it's gonna.
And also looking back at the past, earlier in
Yeah.
the document, you'll see there's about 5 pages discussing what was assumed before and whether we hit those or not. And then our new programs tiered off that and whether or not we wanted to continue those programs, which more or less they all kind of can continue the next 8 years.
Anyone go to HCD website, read the whole.
All right.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, then, the recommendation is that we conduct a public hearing, and so I'll open up public hearing, and if anybody wish to come forward and speak on behalf of or against this plan amendment, I see none, so I'll close the public hearing, and I'd ask for item number 2, I'll ask for a motion to adopt a resolution that reads, "A resolution of the City Council of the City of Taft approving a negative declaration for General Plan Amendment Number 2015-1, Housing Element 2015 through 2023."
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask the city clerk to take roll call, please.
Yes, Councilmember Nor,
Yes.
Councilmember Cryer,
Yes.
Councilmember Bryant,
Yes.
Councilmember Hill. Yes. And Mayor Miller.
Yes, and that passes on a 5-0 vote. Item number 3 is a motion, I entertain a motion to adopt a resolution that reads, "A resolution of the City Council of the City of Taft approving General Plan Amendment Number 2015-01 and approving the housing element 2015 to and through 2023."
Motion. Second.
A motion is second. Any further discussion? Well, I want to say thank you, Mark. That was a lot of work. It's too bad you have to go through that every 5 years, but, and it take 8 years, it takes a lot of time, so again, thank you. Madam Clerk, will you take roll call, please?
Yes, Councilmember Nor,
Yes.
Councilmember Cryer.
Yes.
Councilmember Bryant.
Yes.
Councilmember Hill. Yes. And Mayor Miller.
Yes, and that passes on a 5-0 vote. Thank you for a lot of hard work in your department. Item number 2, appoint representatives to the West Side Recreation and Park District Board. Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. Pursuant to Section 5783.5 of the California Public Resources Code, the city's policies regarding appointments to boards and commissions. Notice has been duly advertised informing those interested to submit an application for serving on the West Side Recreation and Park District Board. The board members currently representing the city are Roy Highmiller and John Swearingen, and both have applied for reappointment, with no other special applications being received during the application period. Both Mr. Highmiller and Mr. Swearingen have been invited to attend and address the council regarding their request for their reappointment.
Okay, the recommendation is a motion to reappoint current West Side Recreation Park District Board members Roy Highmiller and John Swearingen to serve another term on the board with a new term ending date of December 31st, 2019. I see that John's in the audience tonight. I assume Mr. Highmiller, he was asked to be here tonight, but I assume he's probably...
Mr. Mayor, if I may, Roy Highmiller's wife, Janine, came by my house just prior to the meeting to let me know that unfortunately Roy is quite ill this evening, and he sends his regrets for not being able to be here. However, he also appreciates the council thinking about reappointing him, and he truly wants to continue to serve, but he does indeed send his regret.
Well, I asked City Clerk to ask each one of the candidates to attend tonight's meeting, because I'd like the public to at least see them, and maybe if they would, give us a little statement of their past experience on the board and what's happening and what's going on in the future. So we'll go ahead and I'll entertain a motion to appoint Roy Highmiller and John Swearingen to the West Side Park and District.
Motion. Second.
A motion and a second over here. Any further discussion?
I just want to thank both candidates. They both expressed a desire to serve. I served on that board myself prior to getting on the city council. It's a critical part of the quality of life in our community, and the fact that they would step forward and be willing to do that, and they both are very sincere in their desire to be a part of the successes of the services represented by the West Side Parks and Rec District. So I want to thank you for your time and dedication. I want to thank Roy as well. Thank you, sir.
All right. Madam Clerk, will you take roll call, please?
Councilmember North,
Yes.
Councilmember Cryer,
Yes. Councilmember
Bryant,
Yes.
Councilmember Hill. Yes. Mayor Miller.
Yes, and again, just like Councilman North said, we really appreciate their service. And John, you're in the audience. Would you mind stepping up today or tonight, I mean, and introduce yourself, your address, and well, maybe not your address, but let us how you've been doing and what your plans are for the next 4 years.
Yes, sir. I'm John James Swearingen, lifelong Taft resident. I've been on the rec board. You guys appointed me right around 5 years ago when Ron Waldrop went to the council. I took his seat and then was reappointed 4 years ago. It's been great so far. I've had several different people kind of come and go on the rec board, but I was very happy when Roy Highmiller was appointed pretty close to a year ago. A lot's happened. When I got appointed was right when the new rec center was started already, so I kind of got in on the end of that, and since the rec's done all kinds of things. And then with Don and Les and the rec, I mean, the rec's kind of involved with everything. So many good things have happened the last few years. With the oil things coming on, it might get a little different. We're going to lose a lot of tax dollars last year. A little bit this year might be worse. They've already budgeted and done all that. Les and all them been working hard on making sure nothing, as far as I know, is going to change this year. But I don't know what's going to happen down the road. But the reserves, everything right now, they've been working hard to make sure nothing's going to change so far for the city of Taft.
So it looks great. You guys are doing a good job. All the work that's been gone on down at the ball fields, the Little League ball fields and the new wiffle ball parks and the programs that you're running. And I know you're proud and pleased to be a part of all that, and we're proud of you and your service to the community. So.
Thank you. I enjoy it. I appreciate all you guys do, and that's what I'd like to do to get back to Taft. Be on the rec board. I love doing it, and I love being a part of this community. You guys all do an excellent job, and with the rec, everybody does a great job for all the tasks. I enjoy it.
Well, thank you so much, John.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you,
Merry
John.
Christmas to you. Okay. And you spoke for Roy. He's a long life member of Taft, and family is involved, and so.
Yes, sir. I was fortunate enough to have lived right across the street from Roy. Roy and Janine and their family lived right across the street for many, many years, and our kids grew up together, and Roy and Janine love children and are very, very involved in it, and Roy served on the Taft City Fire Department for many years, now works for the county, and he's a critical part of that. So he's another man, much like John, that wants to give back to the community and not just sit back and watch it, but he doesn't want to just reside here, he wants to live here, like our mayor is always saying, and he does appreciate the opportunity to be a part of it.
Great. Okay, item number 3, appoint a representative to the Westside Mosquito and Vector Control Board. Mr. Jones.
A notice has been duly advertised informing those interested to submit an application for serving on the West Side Mosquito and Vector Control District. The board member currently representing the city is Roy House, and he has applied for reappointment with no other applications being received during the application period. Mr. House has been invited to attend and address the council regarding his request for reappointment.
Okay, and the recommendation is I'll accept a motion to reappoint current West Side Mosquito and Vector Control District Board Member Roy House to serve another term on the board with a new term ending December 31st, 2019.
Motion.
Second.
Madam Clerk, will you take roll call, please?
Councilmember North,
Yes.
Councilmember Cryer,
Yes.
Councilmember Bryant,
Yes.
Councilmember Hill. Yes. And Mayor Miller.
Yes, and that passes on a 5-0 vote. And I note that Roy's in the house tonight. Roy, would you like to come up?
I'd like to thank the city council for revoting me, and they're doing a good job out there. The people work hard, and they do a good job of keeping the counts down. And I've learned a lot in the last years I've been serving on the board with this district out there and everything goes on in the state of California. So I appreciate it, and they're doing a darn good job, and thank you.
Well, we thank you for your service, Roy, and we appreciate your representing us out there on the board, and sounds like the board's doing a good job.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here tonight.
See you for coffee in the morning, Roy.
All right, item number 4, citizens' request for public comments. This is the time and place for the general public to address the city council on matters within its jurisdiction. State law prohibits the council from addressing any issue not previously included on the agenda. Council may receive comment and set the matter for a subsequent meeting. Sorry. Please limit comments to 5 minutes. We have on the agenda, Bob, we're going to call on you. Is this something different from Planning Commissioner's report?
No, it is Planning Commission.
Okay. Rick Jang? Your request, are you going to talk about item number 20?
Yes, he made a request.
He was just making a last-minute request, hoping to have 20 discussed before the consent agenda.
Well,
He has-
when we get to the item, I'll allow him to have
Okay.
comment then. Okay? Cool. Okay, moving on to item number 5, council statements, non-action. Councilwoman Hill.
Thank you. I just wanted to compliment the Seroptimists had their annual Christmas home tour on Saturday. They raised approximately, probably more than $10,000 for critical care. It was a huge success. We had over 30 tables sold out. Nobody could get in. The mayor's wife was one of the last tickets. We actually squeezed her in there to get her in. As a new Seroptimist member, I have in the past been a invited guest of that, which was very nice. You got to sit and relax and enjoy. I, as a business owner, have made centerpieces and I have decorated a few people's tables, all of which were a lot of fun. I did try to do the go home or go big thing and make the biggest, centerpiece it ever was. Note to self, probably wasn't my smartest move, but I am humbled by the amount of charity in the hearts of these women and the amount of work and selflessness that goes into this. This is no small task to pull this off. These are people who, out of the charity and goodness of their heart, work very hard to give this to critical care and to our city. It is an asset that we have these women that show what quality we have here in town. And I just wanted to share and compliment these people for this great, great effort. Thank you, Mayor. That's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Bryant.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last Friday, I wanted to again say thank you for Lon and all your staff, Craig, your staff. You guys put on a great Christmas party. It was an honor to...
No.
Holiday party.
No, it's employee appreciation.
Employee appreciation party. Well, that's what I was going to get to that, all right? Because, again, it was an honor to be able to spend that time with the employees of the city. You guys do a great job, and we appreciate you very much. This whole thing with the housing element, Mark, I was going to get to that in a little bit, but you guys did a heck of a job. You and the planning commission, whether it was the current planning commissioners or even the one that's next to me who was there when you guys started that, you guys did an amazing job. It's an honor to be able to celebrate with you guys. Chief, thank you guys for everything you do. On the same note, we had the Christmas parade, was it the 2nd? And one of the things I had heard was that how much trash was left out on the street that night. It happens, right? People get out there, they leave their stuff. Surprisingly, the comment got turned around about how awesome it was of Public Works to have that damn thing spotless by the next morning. So again, kudos to those guys, because they do a great job. We really appreciate you guys. Again, John and Roy who's not here, I appreciate you guys very much. I can't think of a person, honestly, who promotes Taft much more than the mayor, besides John. If you want to know what's going on, that guy's going to make sure it's known. I appreciate that very much. Let's see, what else do I got here? Maybe about it. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year to all of you. That's all I got, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Knorr.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too was amazed by how quickly we cleaned up after the Christmas parade, but I did see that following Santa Claus was our street sweeper. Right there, right behind Santa Claus. There were candy wrappers and whatnot, as well as reindeer droppings on the street, and those things were vacuumed up and whisked away in an environmentally friendly manner, and I believe they were also recycled. Go green. Another thing I forgot to talk about before we ended the last city council meeting was Pearl Harbor Day. When we were in the parade, those of you who saw me will note that there was a great deal of red and blue on my blue blazer. So part of what I was doing, along with flying the flag and wishing everybody a very Merry Christmas at the Christmas parade, was remember Pearl Harbor Day. My wife asked me why I wore that particular shirt, but Pearl Harbor Day, obviously a very important day, a day that will live in infamy, and I neglected to say something about it at the last city council meeting. In a related matter, a young man from the city of Taft has decided to join the Navy. Young Blake Selman has left the city of Taft, and he's joined the Navy, and he's going to be away for the holidays. And so part of what a lot of people do is write letters to our men and women in the service when they're going to be away from their families. And the mayor was kind enough to write this letter, and we're going to make sure that Blake gets it, along with a lot of people saying thanks. So if you have the opportunity over the course of the holidays to do something nice, and remember those who are going to be away from their families, do it. No matter how small, I guarantee you they'll appreciate it. So take advantage of that. Lastly, I keep hearing every day during all the debates and everything that's going on, I keep hearing about climate change, and they had the big climate change get-together over in France, and I believe our president was quoted as saying he feels good. He feels good knowing that those efforts are going to be made to safeguard the planet itself for his children and grandkids, and he'll feel good knowing that that has been done. And I think about my kids, and I think of my grandkids a lot as well. But what I found alarming was that during the presidential debates, And from the president himself, he doesn't seem to be concerned with the additional $10 trillion in debt that we have created over the past 7 years. He's worried about the climate, which we should be, but $10 trillion additional dollars worth of debt to be passed down to the kids doesn't seem to raise an eyebrow. I find that really alarming. I can guarantee you that irresponsible spending and the accumulation of unsustainable debt and unmanageable debt will consume and destroy this country long before an additional 2 degrees in the upper atmosphere. So I don't understand why we're concentrating on that. One of the things that I think that people fail to understand is the number. You know, once you get past about $1 million, whether it's $1 million or $1 billion or $1 trillion, who cares? I mean, it's kind of confusing. So I got to thinking about that. So how do you demonstrate? There's a lot of different ways to try to make people understand those numbers. So here's one. How many seconds do you think there are in a year? Not a day, not a week, a year. If I were to have a stack of dollar bills here and I just laid them in front of Councilman Cryer as fast as I could, 1 per second, all day long, all year long, how many dollars would I stack up in front of Councilman Cryer right here?
23,462.
Well, that's not quite true.
Oh,
It's
I'm sorry.
close. Actually, about $31,560,000.
Wow.
31,560,000 seconds in a year. That's a big number. Now, if I was able to do that, to stack those dollar bills up in front of Horschel Cryer for an entire year, for that 31,560,000 seconds and dollars, it would only take me 190 years to stack up enough money to pay the unfunded liability in PERS. 190. And that's if they were $100 bills. So 1 a second, $100 bills all year long for 190 years just to pay the unfunded liability in CalPERS. If I wanted to pay the national debt, I would have to do that for 30 times that long. Is that inconceivable? I think it's inconceivable. In spite of that, we don't care about that. We care about climate change. Well, how is debt related to climate change? How does that work? You know that the poorer nations, when they showed up there in France, said they believe that it is the duty of rich nations like America, that's the nation with the $19 trillion worth of debt I just told you about, it is our duty to send a few $100 billion over to those poor nations to help them clean up their emissions over the course of the next several decades. So we've already run the jobs out, we've already run the industry out, and now we need to send some of the money that we don't have over there to clean them up. Well, I have a different idea. Here's my idea. There's one ozone surrounding our planet. It's not their ozone and our ozone. We as a state of California, we as a country cannot clean the ozone all by ourselves at the expense of our country, at the expense of its financial viability. We can't do that. The biggest nations, the biggest producing nations right now, and that is because of America, because we ran all of our industry out, India, China, and Russia. This struck me. I was at a job site the other day in the oil fields, and I looked around and I looked at all the pipe and the steel and everything there. And you know what names I read on all the pipe and all the structural steel? I read India, Russia, China, Vietnam. I didn't see U.S. steel anywhere. Nowhere. Now then, the grossest polluters on the face of the planet are India, China, and Russia. In the last report that I read, for the production of the same $1,000 worth of domestic product, if we create $1,000 worth of steel, and they create $1,000 worth of steel over there, they will pollute 5 times, 7 times, or 9 times as much as we do in the United States. 5, 7, and 9. And we have a problem with pollution. So what do they want us to do? They want us to send them hundreds of billions of dollars to help them clean up, and they're going to try to peak out their pollution somewhere around 2030, 2035. Well, here's what makes more sense to me. Along with the jobs and the industry comes the ability to create income to fund R&D, research and development. That's how come we have cars now that get 30 miles a gallon. We have a pickup truck that's a diesel-powered Dodge that gets 31 miles to the gallon. We are cleaning up the air in the United States. But having run all those jobs out of the United States, here's what we can do to clean the planet. Effective tomorrow, we could allow all of those industry partners to double their pollutant output. How about that? Double it. If doubling the pollution that we emit in the United States would bring those jobs back in the United States, bring those industries back from India, China, and Russia, the net effect to the ozone would be a reduction of emissions by half, or 2.5, 3.5, and 4.5 times. We could bring the jobs back. We could put people back to work. And like I said, how do you couple those things with the economic problems we have in the United States today? We're talking about people want $15 an hour for minimum wage jobs. Why? Why is that? You know why? Because we have run the middle-class jobs, the jobs that are meant to support a family of 4, out of the state of California and out of the country. A job flipping burgers or cooking French fries was never meant to feed a family of 4 and support a family of 4. But when you run middle-class jobs out of your state and out of your country, the only opportunities left for those people who don't want their families to starve is to pick up 2 or 3 part-time minimum wage jobs. The state of California is not a victim of a recession. The state of California is a victim of their own legislation. We created this problem. So, I didn't want to confuse everybody, but I just want you to know that all these things are very, very important. We learned just recently about unfunded liabilities in CalPERS. For years, generally accepted accounting principles told us that we only owed about $400,000. Well, recently, and numbers have always been numbers, we learned it's closer to $6.3 million, and in point of fact, it's probably closer to $25 million. Okay? That's the reality of it. Jobs, quality of life, the ozone, and money, they're all interrelated. And looking at all of them and the responsible way of managing those things is what is going to make it a better place for our children and our grandchildren. Not keying in on one, forgetting the other. You cannot live on debt. Can't do it. So, anyway, I just had to let people know that because I'm sick and tired of only hearing about climate change when there are so many other things happening to all of us. So with that, I want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas, and that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Very enlightening, Mr. Knorr. Mr. Cryer.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilman Knorr did an excellent job on one aspect of climate change, and I agree with him totally. I believe in climate change. Climate changes every day. One day is Sunday, it might rain, but climate changes. It's cold, it does change, but people don't question the press or media or the government enough. We need to question what goes on. What is carbon? We're all carbon. You know, everything around us, we're a carbon-based society. You know, when we die, we use carbon. What do we exhale when we breathe? You know, oxygen, you have carbon dioxide. What does a plant need in life to grow? They have to have carbon dioxide to grow. If there's no carbon, they'll die. That's a building block of life. And nobody never questions why we need to worry about aspect of life. They don't question it. But one volcano explosion puts out more pollutant than man would ever put out in history of man, was ever from Adam and Eve to now. We're never going to do it from one volcano eruption. But the Earth has the ability to heal itself. It is a natural part of the Earth. The plants draws from it, the ocean, everything in our cycle of life. The Earth takes care of different calamities. Same as oil spills out in the ocean. There's so much. The ocean itself digests it, and it goes away. There's more oil coming out of the ground in the ocean the man can ever put in there from the oil wells that explodes. Like during the World Wars, we had all the tankers and stuff that got sunk with oil and fuel and stuff. After about a couple of years, you never knew it even existed. There's still oil in those ships and stuff that went down that under erupted. But the Earth has the ability to fix itself. And I just think that there's more to it, to this climate change, is to control people, to take money away from us. Here, we get rid of the middle class. I think the deal is that you're going to have two extremes in life. You can't afford to pay it, and you're spending money for automobiles. Now they're talking about putting a tax on mileage. You know, every mile you drive, you're going to pay a penny or wherever you come up to. You pay at the end of the year, they bill you monthly or something. There's different programs in Oregon they're experimenting with. It's going to hit California. There's so many things coming, but it's all in the name of climate change or the government. And all this, you might ask, why does a councilman speak about that stuff? But everything the federal government does, anything that the state does, it affects us in our town. It takes money away from us. It takes us, we can't do our roads, our alleys, and all the rules and regulations that come from the government makes it difficult for us to take care of our own citizens that deserve and need. And it's because of the rules and regulations that it has. And it is kind of frustrating. And I understand what Councilman Knorr is saying. You know, things that are going on out there is affecting us as a whole. We're taking less for us to do with our family and to have a better quality of life. Another thing is, you know, it's the sad stuff that happened in San Bernardino. You know, all the things that first started out. First was two white men and from the NRA going out looking for a Planned Parenthood and stuff. All that stuff going on that goes on until waiting to find out the true facts. Give it a little time. Don't put misinformation out there and thinking and accuse the wrong people, because there's a lot going on here that it's scary. It happened in San Bernardino. It could happen here in Taft. It could happen in Bakersfield. It could happen anywhere. And I hope that when you go out and buy a Christmas present for your loved ones, or your spouse, whatever, buy a weapon. Because life you save may be your own and your loved ones. Because it can be, and take a look and get a CCW. Here in Taft, our chief here, we're very much pro-weapons, pro-guns. We'll give you a weapon, a permit, go through the classes, the training and stuff, and get a weapon. Because you might save a bunch of people's lives being in the right, be in the right place at the wrong time, but you might save a bunch of people, because there was no weapons there at the regional center in San Bernardino. The guy killed 14 people and wounded 21. There's no, and if somebody was there, they could at least diffuse it or change the outcome of it. But the worst thing they do, they say we need more gun control. First thing they want, we need to change our weapons and stuff. A criminal will not buy a weapon. A terrorist will not buy a weapon. They go out there and steal it from other people, or have somebody else, like this instance, have somebody else buy it. But the criminals and the bad people will never go through the paperwork and the training that we go through. We have to do it in order to own one. Yet the government wants to take it away from us. It just don't make sense. And we're with our families, our community, and our nation, and our state, and question what you read. And ask and check the internet. What's information there? And look at the right information. And by that, I wish everybody a very blessed Christmas. And think of your loved ones, think of your community, and think of the joys and happiness that will be bestowed upon us from our God. And thank you, and God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you. I might put an asterisk on the chief still has discretion on whether or not people qualify for a concealed weapon permit. Just because somebody go buy the gun doesn't mean it's an automatic that they can come down here and get a concealed weapon permit. So I want to make that clear. Also, in reference to Mr. Knorr and his talk about climate change, I think the United States has proven without a doubt that we've done more for climate cleanup and change and pollution controls and everything, because I believe that we have more lawyers than China and India and Russia have. So what we ought to do is send all our lawyers over to those 3 countries and see what they can do to clean the climate up.
Send the Sierra Club.
Sue them like they sue us, so. Yeah, I'll make a motion for that. Also, about the debt too, thank God the city of Taft doesn't have the ability to print money like our national government does. So, we have to adhere to a budget and we keep ourselves solvent and we're not looking to spend more than we have, so. In regards to the employee appreciation dinner, I'll again say that we have some of the best employees, I think, anywhere. They're working as a team. They're not worrying about their jobs. They're doing their jobs, and they're doing great jobs. And it's only because of great leadership. And the thing I failed to mention that night is Craig's leadership with guiding the city through some difficult times in the last 4 years. And so, I want all the employees to know what a great job that he's doing, and they know, and the council knows. And so thank you very much, Craig, for that. Also, I'd like to let everybody know a great Taftian has just been appointed as the new deputy chief of the Kern County Fire Department, Brent Moon. And he's a Taft guy all the way. I mean, he could easily move to Bakersfield and be over there, but he chooses to be here and he chooses to live here, and they've rewarded a really great guy, a good man that has put his heart and soul into that fire department. And I know he's well respected, and this was no give me job. He deserved that appointment, and hopefully if he hangs around, he's been there 30 years now, I hope he can hang long enough to become chief. But we're really proud of Brent, and I think I speak on behalf of the whole community that congratulations, Brent Moon, on your appointment.
Absolutely.
And, helping to keep us safe. Most of us live in the city of Taft. We have it pretty good. We have a good community. We're a good charitable community. So this Christmas season, as you know, tonight coming down here, it was a little chilly. We're not snow, and it's, but it's cold for Taft. It gets down to 40 degrees. That's kind of cold. We're not prepared for that. Well, unfortunately, we have a lot of folks that are not doing as well. So if you can think about when you're, out buying gifts, buy an extra gift or put $20 aside. You see somebody on the street, don't think about what they're going to do with the money. They can use it, So either help out or donate to the Need Center or the Laborers of Harvest or a church of your choice, Alpha House. There's people that you ought to be thinking about. It's not about receiving; it's about giving. And so maybe this year, let's think a little bit about giving back to some of the people that we've got in the Need Center list. Yesterday, we had some homeless people come in, and they're just looking for blankets. So they're not looking for a blanket for their house. They're looking for a blanket just so they can keep warm at night wherever they're huddling. That's really sad. We don't have housing for them, and unless everybody wants to open their homes up. But we've got a problem here, but we need to help those people too. We can't just ignore them. They're not just going to go away. So whatever, if you got some charity in your heart, think about somebody else. So I do want to wish everybody also a Merry Christmas. Want everybody to be safe. There's going to be folks traveling, and got to be careful out on the roads. And hope we have a good year. The city of Taft, I think we've had a pretty good year this past year, and we were able to do a few things and finally got our hotel open. And if you have a chance, just walk in there. I mean, you stand inside that lobby and you don't think you're in Taft anymore. I mean, it's really a nice facility. I got to be able to go on a tour of it. The city manager and I, and they're open for business. I don't know what took them so long, but it doesn't matter. They're open now. So if you got relatives, send them their way. It's clean, neat, nice. They've got all the amenities there, and it's something that can be used. And I know our other hotels are going to start sprucing up and wanting to attract travelers and visitors alike. So it's going to be a good all the way around for the community. So anyway, that's all I have. Moving on to item number 6, Planning Commission report. We have Bob Lycum with Planning Commission. Bob, would you like to step up, please?
Yes.
Bob Lycum, 901 3rd Street, representing the Planning Commission tonight. I have a 2.5-hour PowerPoint presentation prepared for you guys today. Unfortunately, Mark Staples went before I do, so mine will be much more abbreviated. I know you were looking forward to that. Okay, the Planning Commission met December 2nd and approved the 2015 to 2023 housing element of Taft's general plan. This plan identified the need for some 250 houses, residential units, to be built during that time frame according to the Regional Housing Needs Assessment calculated by the Kern Council of Government. The Planning Commission also suggested future items for the Planning Commission to discuss, such as zoning requirements and food trucks, how they interact, perpetual garage sales at some local homes, ongoing graffiti issues at a certain house or houses, which actually I noticed was kind of cleaned up on my way over here today. Ongoing home fencing issues, city requirements concerning paint or color themes, and of course a possible interaction with our local code enforcement officer. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you for that report, and thank all the planning commissioners for doing a great job. Item number 7, department reports. Do we have any? Seeing none. Item number 8, city manager statement. Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to thank Mark Staples and his one staff member for completing the housing element. It's a very, very treacherous document. You know, a lot of work went into it. I know he's been working on it along with his other duties, so just like to thank him for that. The city of Taft nominated the El Dorado Executive Board for a regional award of merit at the Kern Council of Government, and we got a notice that they won. So I wanted to thank Belinda Cole for her work for nominating the El Dorado Executive Board. Paid off, and it's very well deserved. Also recognized will be the Westside Cemetery District for their work on the 25 Hill Cemetery, along with Tanner Melton and his Eagle Scout project up there. So that was very well deserved, and that kind of keeps Taft in the spotlight at those awards. We've been doing pretty well there every year, so we couldn't have a year without getting an award. And I know Orchel Cryer's the board representative over there, so hopefully he voted for us. I know he did. I also would like to congratulate Brent Moon on his promotion. I also wanted to recognize Benny Wofford for his promotion. Benny Wofford has been the fire marshal in Kern County, and I've had the pleasure of working with him on a few projects in Taft, and he's a real common sense guy. It doesn't have to be black and white. He helped us reopen the Fox Theater. There were some issues and maybe some requirements that would never allow that building to be open. He came over and met with me. He walked through it, and he took a common sense approach to make sure that people are safe while they enjoy the Fox Theater. He also did the same thing with the Pioneer Mercantile Building. So he's been a good partner with Taft, so I'm glad to see two good guys get promoted to deputy chief position over there. I believe that's all I have tonight, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Item number 9, city attorney statements.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The only statement I have is I'd like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, the council and the rest of Taft, and I look forward to seeing everyone in the new year.
There we go. Yeah, forgot about that. Yeah, we're getting towards the end here. Item number 10, future agenda requests. Does any council person have a agenda request?
Not this time, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Item number 11 through 19, this is the consent calendar. All items listed on the consent calendar shall be considered routine and will be enacted by one roll call vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a member of the city council requests specific items to be removed from the consent calendar for separate action. Any item removed from the consent calendar will be considered after the regular business items. Are there any items of the consent calendar that any member of the public would like to comment on? Seeing none, I will move on and read the consent items. Item number 11, minutes, December 1st regular meeting. Item 12, payments of bills, about $313,000. Item 13, approved purchase of 6 electronic control devices, or commonly known as tasers, for the police department at a cost of $9,208. Item 14, possible cancellation of January 5th, 2016 meeting due to lack of business items. Item 15, consent to the inclusion of properties within the city of Taft in the CMFA PACE program, adoption of a correct resolution. Item 16, approval of signature card required for CDBG grant 15-CDBG 10564. Item 17, acceptance of Center Street rehabilitation project work. And that's to accept the final on that and release of the 5% retention. Item 18, approval of memorandum of agreement with the Taft Correctional Supervisors Association, Communications Workers of America, AFL-CIO, Local 9110. And item 19, approval of memorandum of agreement with the Taft Correctional Officers Association, Communications Workers of America, AFL-CIO, Local 9110. Does any council member wish to remove an item from the consent calendar? Seeing none, I would like to remove item 17. So I'll entertain a motion to accept, whoops, got lost here. Items 11, items 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 18, and 19.
Motion.
Second.
A motion is second. Madam Clerk, will you take roll call, please?
Councilmember North,
Yes.
Councilmember Cryer.
Yes.
Councilmember Bryant.
Yes.
Councilmember Hill.
Yes.
And Mayor Miller.
Yes, and those items are approved on a 5-0 vote. Item number 17, acceptance of Center Street rehabilitation project work. Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. This notice of completion is for the work under the contract agreement with Syncal Construction for the Center Street Rehabilitation Project, 4th Street to 6th Street. The work consisted of grading 3 inches of existing asphalt pavement with an overlay of 3 inches of hot mix asphalt. A retrofit of curb ramps to meet the current ADA standards. City Council awarded the contract to Syncal Construction on May 19, 2015, the amount of $213,004.70. The contract amount billed by the contractor is $208,398.55. There's been 3 change orders for the total combined amount of $5,249.60. Change order 1 provided a credit to the city for $165.90 due to deletion of grooves of the curb ramp. Change order 2 was executed to expedite the work of several curb ramps in order to minimize disruption to adjacent businesses. Change order 3 was a no-cost change order to allow city crews to excavate, demolish existing drainage culverts under the new curb ramps. To be noted that the contractor was penalized in the amount of $10,997.90 due to asphalt compaction being below specifications, but was within acceptable ranges. Cost, construction cost $208,398.55, federal match $149,901, local city match $58,497.55. The engineering department has inspected the work and confirmed to Public Works that the work is in conformance with the plans and specs of September 28th, 2015.
All right, the recommendation is I'll accept a motion to accept the completed work by Sincal Construction for the Center Street Rehabilitation Project from 4th to 6th Street, STPL-5193, parentheses 035, and authorize the city clerk to file a notice of completion with the Kern County Recorder. Staff further recommends the release of the 5% retention to the contractor after 30 days pending claims or liens filed during this period.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Does anybody have any discussion other than I?
No, very clear.
One of the things I noticed, were two things that I had concerns with this project. One, at the Fox Theater, when they were redoing the sidewalk, they broke tiles, and I see that they're still broke. Is that the responsibility of the contractor to replace those tiles? Or have they come to some terms with the Fox Theater?
The contractor was working with Fox Theater on either fixing or compensating them for their losses during the construction. Lon, you have an update on that for the Fox Theater? No.
It's still broken, it looks terrible. Right at the edge of the sidewalk, and then there's this nice tile work, and there's about 2 or 3 broken tiles there. It just kind of degrades that whole look there, so. Can we look into that? Because if we release this 5%, those guys are just gonna walk, and so.
What do we do?
We've already submitted the information to the RMA.
So, what the city did was submit it to RMA, so the RMA will be responsible to collect from the contractor who apparently failed to, I don't want to say failed, but I don't think they reached an agreement with the Fox Theater. I think the discrepancy was the contractor said that they didn't do it. That somebody else did. I don't know.
All right, okay, I just want to bring it attention, because what is it going to wind up? The city's going to...
Unfortunately, it has nothing to do with it has something to do with the construction work, but it has nothing to do with the city paying them. It's a civil matter between the Fox Theater and the construction entity, but they were under contract by the city of Taft, so RMA is going to cover it. So I guess, long story short, is the attorney for the RMA is probably going to settle.
It doesn't appear to me to be I'm not a contractor, but it doesn't appear to be a big fix to just replace a couple tiles, maybe finding same tiles so it doesn't have a mismatch.
I think that was the issue, that they were unable to find the exact size, same looking tile.
Okay.
And it was unsatisfactory to the Fox Theater, whatever their proposal was, so.
You would think that they could come to some sort of agreement without going so far as to get involved in some type of litigation, for heaven's sakes. I mean, we're talking about a little bit of tile here.
Well, I think what'll end up happening is the city of Taft will pay the Fox Theater for their losses, and then their attorneys will go after Sincal Construction for not stepping up to the plate and doing what they should.
That's what I mean. That's terribly disappointing. That's something we're gonna have to remember, because like the mayor says, we have 5% retention. I think that's terribly disappointing.
Yeah.
Somebody's liable for it.
Unfortunately, with the Caltrans contracting rules and stuff, we can't hold their 5% for the tile because it wasn't part of the contract.
Well, the shame is on them. The
Yes.
shame is not on us, in my mind.
Yes.
And the unfortunate thing is we're required to go with low bidder every time. So.
Understood.
What's the value?
Let's remember that next time we go to.
Well, if they can't match the tiles, you're going to have to do something. You can't just...
Well, what would probably have them, they would probably have to have custom tile made to make it work and fit. There is no, because of the age of the tile, there's none that's that size.
It's just distracting to see that. It seems like somebody could have worked out some...
You would think, I didn't think it was that big of a deal when it was first brought up, but apparently it's
just,
festered.
it takes away from the entry of the Fox. It's too bad. Secondly is, once they did all the cement work and everything, then they went and asphalted and run the asphalt tire trucks over our nice paving crosswalks, and it just drove oil down into, I don't know if they tried or that wasn't very well thought out on their part either. And here we have this nice paved asphalt, and then they, kind of oiled up those red pavers that go across at the intersections.
No, they had those covered.
It's all,
They had those covered during that time. It was after that. While it was supposed to be drying, people came over it.
So it wasn't the contractor.
No, it wasn't.
the contractors, it didn't dry as quickly as it was supposed to.
It was cruise night.
But now it's all covered up by burnt rubber from Eldorado.
Yeah, that didn't help either. Yeah, thanks for all the, people that thought that was a cool idea to burn rubber on those asphalt.
But they did send a crew down there all day, one day, pressure washing, trying to get that stuff off, but the chemical and the pressure washer would not take it off, so.
Yeah. Yeah, and I hadn't thought about the burnt rubber on the red asphalt by cruise night participants, and I appreciate, and I think the council would agree that, don't do that. That's our public infrastructure, that's our downtown. You don't have the right to do that, so don't do it. I mean, come on, think about where you live and what you're doing. Gee whiz. Well, that's all I have. That was my two gripes about the project. But otherwise, it turned out very nice and looks good, and it's a great addition, and the trees got trimmed, and we were all set for Eldorado, and we had a good showpiece for downtown, so.
And all the flower beds, the idea to get the sponsors and the flower beds really set it up. So Councilwoman Hill,
I was told the other day
congratulations.
by an old timer in Taft that Center Street looks better than it has in 20 years, so I took that pride in that. So everybody involved with it should have pride too.
Madam Clerk, will you take roll call, please?
Yes. Councilmember North?
Yes.
Councilmember Cryer?
Yes.
Councilmember Bryant?
Yes.
Councilmember Hill?
Yes.
And Mayor Miller?
Yeah, reluctant, yes. That passed on a 5-0 vote. Okay, item number 20, our last item. Extension of the time request for reimbursement agreement between the City of Taft and Praesus Commercial Construction for the installation of a drainage facility at 1121 Kern Street, APN 032-152-12. Mr. Jones.
Thank you. On December 2nd, 2014, the City Council approved a reimbursement agreement with Perseus Commercial Construction for the installation of a drainage facility on or near the property located at 1121 Kern Street, APN number 032-160-4748 and 49. The agreement offered a reimbursement up to $40,000 or 50% of design, installation, and construction costs for the installation of the drainage facility. The agreement was valid for 12 months after the Taco Bell project receives its certificate of occupancy, which was on December 23rd, 2014. Attached is a request from Perseus Commercial Construction requesting an extension of time on the reimbursement agreement. Due to the construction schedule for this property and their site in the county at the intersection of Highway 119 and 43, Perseus anticipates completing the installation of the drainage facility in the summer of 2016. It is at the discretion of the City Council to continue the offer of the design and construction costs related to the drainage facility. Perseus has continued to move forward with developing APN 32-16048 and 49 by receiving approval from the Planning Commission of the site plan review of the new drive-through automated car wash and 2 commercial buildings totaling 11,000 square feet. The approval also included a parcel amount to split APN 032-16049 into 2 parcels by the car wash and 1 commercial building on its own parcel. Perseus submitted grading plans in October 2015 for all 3 building sites, and will be submitting an on-site utility plans this month. However, Perseus has not completed the design work and has not yet received city engineer approval and will not install the drainage facility by the December 23rd, 2015 deadline.
All right, we have a representative from Perseus, and I'd like for you to introduce yourself and give your address, please.
My name is Rick Judge. I'm the owner of Perseus Commercial Construction. and also part of Countryside Corporation. We're the owners of Tap Taco Bell here locally, and working on the new development of the new car wash coming into the city of Taft. My address is 10807 Gainsborough Court. I live in the city of Bakersfield. And I want to say thank you first and foremost for allowing me to speak here in front of the council today. I think you guys have seen my face quite a bit in the last 12 months. We're, again, always trying to bring you growth and construction here to the city of Taft. And we have created a successful project at the end of 2014 with the Taco Bell induction into the city of Taft. And now we have been working with bringing in a full-service car wash, which was approved by the council earlier this year. And also a partial map split, as Craig was mentioning, that got approved a few months back. Currently, we are in the process of getting all the plans designed and completed. We have submitted grading plans which have been reviewed and been commented on by the city engineer, Jerry Helt. Those documents and corrections have been being made currently and being submitted back in probably the end of this week or the early part of next week for grading. Utility plans, and we're the next step in completing this project of the storm drain issue. The issue we ran into is the designer that is designing is Pinnacle Engineering, done a lot of work in the city of Taft. They were actually the engineers of record that designed the storm drain usage for the property just north of us, the 9-acre residential property that never went through. So they were involved heavily in the whole storm drain and city sewer, city storm design. Unfortunately, when they were designing this new design for our storm drain and catching all the excess water that's coming off the alleyway and the issues that the city has been dealing with in the property that we purchased, there was no record of anything of the city sewer, city storm drain sizing. And I've asked Mark along with Jerry Helt to do some research, and they were unable to find the city designs. So I have hired on Pinnacle Engineering to survey all of Sandy Creek's storm drain sizing to verify that it could contain all the water and all the runoff that's going to be coming in through that basin. And that was something that was somewhat holding up the project from moving forward. That surveying was actually just done this prior week, and those designs are being finalized. A design, a 95% completion design, almost 100% completion design has been submitted to Mark just for his review of the project has been being worked on. And we should have something in by again next week to submit the final design for review and approval. So that was somewhat of a holdup, but we are moving forward. And we already completed, the second process was getting our partial map recorded. We could not move forward with the project until the partial map was fully executed and recorded through the county recorder's office. That recording just happened this past Tuesday. And again, that was due to Jerry wanting some common easement for public access and maintenance agreements on road maintenance agreements. So there was a few things that took a little longer than we expected, but we're moving full speed on the project now. And again, we are looking to start construction on this project first quarter of 2016. As soon as we get plans approved, we are looking to move dirt as early as end of January, beginning of February. And my request here is, again, the city has, Mark and the whole city has been very gracious in wanting to work with us. I just felt it was my responsibility to come to the council and keep you guys updated what's going on. So you guys know, of course, we have a lot of commitment here to the city of Taft. And know that we are moving forward on this project. And it is nothing, not a small project by no means. It's a multi-million-dollar project that we're investing here in the city of Taft. And we do appreciate the city working with us with resolving a problem that is not only affecting us, but it's affecting the whole area in over there on Kern Street. That's been a problem for many, many years. And I know this amount was offered to the prior developer, and then was turned over to us since we purchased the property, and I appreciate you guys giving us that opportunity to do that. And I'm asking for somewhat of an extension of the timeline just due to the extenuating conditions of the whole project. But we look like this project should be up and operational and completed within the first 6 months of 2016. And we should have a functioning, brand-new, full-service car wash with fully graded paths for future retail centers at this location. And also wanted to comment on this a little bit to this project as well in the future of what we're doing here in the city of Taft, the commitment we have City of Taft. We have actually now purchased the 9 acres just, again, north of us, that butts up to our property. And
North of you?
west of you, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Jeff Lockwood's project.
Yeah, west.
okay.
Yeah,
West of- okay.
we just purchased.
North is heading over Kern
Sorry,
Street.
yeah, looking over, yeah, so west of us. We just purchased that property and closed escrow on that property just less than a month ago. And we've taken over that 9 acres as well, and our goal is to come to you guys sometime next year with another development on that and keep all of Currency growing and to just bring a really nice, high-quality growth and new centers to Kern, to Taft here. So with that being said, I just was hoping that I could get the approval of the City Council to keep an extension on this.
Well, when you started the project for the Taco Bell, you know, that drainage project was a concern of ours, you know, for the last prior years before you even purchased the property, and we had promised from the developer that was developing the housing project to have that installed because we're very concerned. Now, it's been dry years now. You know, we've been concerned since last year that with El Nino and projected rainfall, we're very concerned of where all that water's going to go. And we don't want it crossing down into your brand-new facility and parking lot and going out the front door. So that's when we came up with this offer of reimbursing half the project cost to try to spur you to get this done. And that was a year ago. And you've gone on and done some other projects, and we appreciate your commitment to the City of Taft, but we're very concerned about that portion of the project because it's important to all of us. So you're asking and stating tonight that you think you can get this project done and approved and installed by the end of March?
No, I said we're starting the construction the first quarter of 2016, with the first 6 months of 2016 we'll have the project completed. Right now, we have the plans ready to be submitted. So the first part of the question that we are going to do is going to be the storm drain.
What project are you talking about? I'm talking only about the drainage situation on the alley there.
He's asking for a year, pretty much, till next winter.
No, what the way the project is being constructed is we have to complete the on-site storm drain of the project that we're doing for the car wash in conjunction with that storm drain that we're taking on with which has been tunneled out over the years on the back of the property. What's happening is, again, the engineer, which is Pinnacle Engineering, they are concerned with the size of the city storm drain that's there. My plans are complete. I was ready to submit almost 3 weeks ago to start the process of completing that on-site storm drain issue that you're discussing. But the Pinnacle Engineering actually did not want to move forward because they did not have enough information saying the city storm drain was large enough to handle all the water. So that's why we had them come and shoot all of Sandy Creek storm sizing, and with getting the clarification and make sure that all the stormwater can be ran through that basin, then they will be able to finalize the design of the plan.
A point of clarification, that is not a city storm drain, that is a private storm drain. It was put in by the developer who built the development with the old KFC and Oz and all that. So that's not a city-owned and maintained storage or drainage facility.
My fault. But the connection point that we the only access we have is that one connection point. That is the only storm drain coming to the site. So that was a little bit of an issue there, but we are doing all of that. That's the first step. We are doing the construction. So my goal is if we get plans approved the first part of January, we will start moving dirt.
Well, we were
in January.
I was under the impression when we approved this last year that this was. I didn't understand that we were having a retail and a car wash going into that spot, that part of that improvement was on that property you own to get that storm drain so that there wouldn't be, water coming onto your property on the backside, on the south side of the Taco Bell location. So I was understanding that we're offering up money for a separate project. Now you're saying that you've incorporated it now with the car wash, and then if you're going to put a retail or only a car wash, or anyway you're going to develop that property and to do it right, you're saying now that you have to tie it all in and make sure it's going to work.
No, well, what I'm saying, sir, is that storm, no matter what, has to be done correctly. And that's our goal is as a developer, I don't want to do anything that's not going to work and function right. And that is what we want to do, because when we did do the first development of Taft, of the Taco Bell in Taft, we did parcel the properties out and for future growth. And that was a conversation we had back then, was that we want to not just build a Taco, we want to build other projects. And so this storm drain sizing is a concern by the engineer, and they were concerned that the water sizing that would take it on not only by what we put in the ground right there, but the future development could be too much to handle.
Well, there's going to be a lot of water coming, according to all projections. And it's going to come right down Church Street, and it's got to go somewhere, and it's going to go onto your property.
Yeah, and there's nobody that's more wanting this project to be clean than myself, because again, that we also, not only the developer, we own that Taco Bell. And when we did have, early last year, we had to shut our property down for 3 days because we had the building got flooded. So by no means do I want that to happen again. We lost a lot of money.
If we don't do something, I don't know how we could temporarily do something, or, but there's going to be a lot of water coming down there, and we can point a lot of fingers here and there and which way, but we got to do something with that water, and the only way that water is going to go, it's going to go on your property. If it can't go down that little ditch underneath the wall.
I do have a question, sorry. You mentioned there was loss of revenue, I'm sure, right? I'm sure there was cost to submit that claim to your insurance, correct?
No, the insurance covered $0.
Then that's great, you had no deductible, but you think you lost about $40,000 in sales?
I would say we've lost
a significant amount.
Significant amount.
So if you would have invested that $40,000 in that drainage, we wouldn't have had the issue. Another quick question. The property I know you're developing at 119 and 43. You mentioned that in your letter, and we appreciate that. It's great. Is there any incentive, for that property to be developed in that manner, which seems to be identical to what you're proposing in this area?
This area over here, the difference is with that project, we had also a limitation on time frame there as well. We had a permit that was going to expire, and if we don't get construction going, we would have lost not only the permit of the property, we also had a zone approval and a parcel map approval that was going to expire, which then we have to go through the entire parcel map process all over again. So we had to get that project started as well. And again, we are always trying to develop, but by no means, we're a developer that's always trying to grow and bring nice projects into all of Kern County, including Taft being one of those. So, but we have not held off on this project by any means of trying to move forward on it. Again, I'd like to clarify, there has been some holdups with the fact of how the storm drain is going to work. And I think that is where the problem arises. Otherwise, the grading plan was submitted in October. So I was wanting to start this project in October and to get it completed to make our deadline. So as long as the plans could get approved, if you guys could, help Jerry help to sign off on some things, that would help us out tremendously. But if Jerry and the city can get the plans approved here within the week, I could start moving dirt January. It's just really as long as they could approve the plans. That's all we're waiting on.
I'd like to say that thank you for what you're doing for the city of Taft, your construction of Taco Bell and the car wash and the other development you're doing. I think it's great what you're doing for Taft. And
thank you.
I know what it takes as far when you build construction stuff, in order to tie it in properly, you have to do the storm drain in order to complement everything to do it right. Sometimes you can't do it in the beginning. You have to do it towards the end of the project and stuff. So I can understand what you're trying to go through in that time zone. So I just want to thank you and support you in what you're doing. And
thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
I do have a question, if I may, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
And that is, you're talking about if if your plan is approved, if your plan is completed and your engineering is completed and it comes before the planning commission and staff and it's been approved, that you can begin construction in January. Well, we all know, as evidenced by the last big flash flood we had that created all the problems, and elsewhere in the city of Taft as well, but I would almost recommend that you did not move dirt in that area prior to El Nino years. Most of the moisture is in January, February, and March. If you get halfway through your dirt moving, especially if you have loose dirt in that area and we get those rains, it could actually be a much larger problem. You could end up washing a lot of that loose dirt and work that you've had done right into that drain, and then you're going to be trying to excavate the drain. I'm just throwing this out, and our city manager knows more about these things than I ever will. But
Well, just a couple more, I guess, a point of clarification for that area and some history on the project that was approved when Jeff Lockwood was proposing to build a drainage facility there, and the original incentive that the city offered to Mr. Judge is that area, that lot, that is a site of natural drainage. It's always been a natural drainage site.
right.
So the intent was to divert the water, basically reroute the drainage down the alley and tie it into the wall drainage, therefore allowing the rest of that lot to be used for development. So essentially, well, Pinnacle designed a drainage facility that would accept water at the termination of Church Street, basically into a large drop vault, and carry the water over to that wall in a culvert system in the alley, 30-inch, 36-inch, something like that, culvert system. So essentially, it was removing the natural drainage off of the property, therefore it could be used. Pinnacle designed it, and it was approved. So when he went back to Pinnacle, the recent developer went back to Pinnacle, they said that they had to update their design, make sure it still worked and all that. Well, somehow, they designed something back then that they say they can't design now without knowing a few other factors. So, the main factor being what size pipe carries the water from the wall over to Sandy Creek.
When you just so I'm clear on all of this, the water comes down Church Street naturally, so it's coming downhill to the north, heads into what used to be a natural drainage area, and it was work its way into the Sandy Creek
Still
area.
is a natural drainage, well, originally, yes, but now there's still a portion of the natural drainage that's still there, which is on Rick's property.
Okay, so when you set the big vault at the end of Church Street, right where it comes into the alleyway, the culvert that you're talking about is going to carry that water, where is it going to carry it in a northwesterly direction towards Sandy Creek?
Towards,
Northeast.
towards the Chickadee.
Okay, northeast.
Yeah, in the alley, underground, over, so it'll all be underground, and it will be routed away from his property, therefore he can build on it.
I see. All right, thank you for that
Well,
clarification.
the whole point is that the agreement that we had was for a year, and the year's up.
Well, and that's what, I mean, an incentive is to motivate someone to do something more quickly than they were originally planning to do it. So I understand the issues, but I know that Pinnacle just recently started working on this, as they contacted us for the last couple of months, and we're into this a year.
Whether or not this El Nino turns out to be what they think it is, you know, the largest, I mean, the blob that is the warm water out there, all the scientists say, is getting larger and larger and warmer. But that is one particular area of the city that is at risk. And it's very, very important that we got that taken care of. I don't know all the details for all of the delays, but it would be simply my opinion, as one of five, that our agreement, and we honor our agreement, is that incentive be in place until December the 23rd. I remember being there when you were trying to open up, and actually calling the city manager, and the city manager came down to City Hall to open up City Hall to see to it Christmas Day. That was Christmas Day, that's right. I recall that distinctly.
Yeah, and again, like you said earlier, we've worked hand in hand with everyone in the city and to make sure that we develop a nice project. And clarification on what was mentioned there too exactly is, I'm somewhat at the mercy of the engineers because again, something that did work prior when the incentive was given out to the previous developer also doesn't work anymore. And I have argued with my engineer many times to say, just allow me to submit the plan so I can start the construction as is, but he will not allow that to happen. Now, so that's why they wanted to look at the entire storm drain. Now, is that so they could get more money? Is that they want to delay time? I don't know, and I have, again, talked to Mark about trying to get this expedited. We have been working on this diligently, though, because, again, there's a lot of factors that go into developing something. We just can't start moving dirt. Everything costs money. We had to, after we opened up the Taco Bell, we had to come up with a site plan. We had to come up with funding. We had to go through a bank approval process. And so when we finally got the bank approved, one of those items was getting the parcel split completed and recorded and loan in place. And so and as many of you guys know that our small business owners have done development, legally I can't, if I touch the dirt and move dirt prior to the loan being approved, they will not, it voids the loan application because then all of a sudden there's options of liens, other issues on the project.
Here's the issue, really. That incentive was to try to help you save your property. I mean, that incentive that we offered you to put some sort of drainage in is to help you save your property.
Of course.
We can extend this agreement for whatever it takes. It's up to you, but all that water that's coming down Church Street is going to hit that little retaining wall and go east and go around that corner and right onto your property and right into the Taco Bell. And nothing we can do to stop it. So the longer that you take to put that in, the worse it is for you.
I agree.
Is the way I see it. So we've had this year to do this, and apparently there's a lot of things that have come up, and it seems like it's came up later than the year than earlier in the year when we thought you were going to be doing something about it. So now it's into October, and you said that you just got the recording done, and we haven't been in communication on this offer of ours. So we put that forward we don't do this all the time, but we put that forward as an incentive to help you, to help save your property there. So
I agree, man. That's what I tried to do.
So the water's, it's going to come maybe over a period of time, but whatever little rain we get, it accumulates up in the heights, and it comes roaring down Church Street, and it's going to go into a natural drain, like he said, and it's onto your property. So
and we feel it more than anyone else. And that water doesn't come out onto the street; it affects our property. It's that we're the one that get hit it the most. So that loss is something that we feel. And again, as you can see, is we're very dedicated to keep growing. By no means are we delaying.
We appreciate very much what you're doing and your projects, and we want to help, and we want to do what we can do. But I don't know. I don't know if there's some sort of temporary damming, or you say we can't move dirt, you can't do anything, but I don't know. It seems like I don't know what we can do.
Well, I do have a question, if I may, Mr. Mayor, and that is, I have a question for you. There's a great deal of vegetation that still exists along that area, and if you get much rainfall, the vegetation would be the first issue as far as plugging up the drains, it would seem to me, last time I looked there. Things that wouldn't take much to clean it up, and much like we did Sandy Creek, we went in and deforested Sandy Creek, all because we didn't want all that debris in there to get caught up in the rush of water, create a dam, and then flood out Ford City. And it took a long time to get the permit to do that, and it took a great deal of effort, but it would seem to me that to safeguard your property, now having secured that loan, like you say in the permit, that you could take some precautionary steps to prevent that from happening. Did you also say, and just help me out here, that the engineering is completed now? You have the completed engineering for that drainage? Do you have that?
We have the complete engineering for that drainage. It is complete. I actually have the drainage design here with me. And also I give you a copy of that to Mark as well to review. The drainage is complete, and it has been complete, but the engineer did not want to sign and put a stamp on it until he verified the sizing of Sandy Creek storm drain.
I see.
Which they just went
did.
out and shot that. They spent about 2 weeks trying to locate it, trying to find the plans. They couldn't find it. So now they have it, and this hearing came up, and again, I found it my responsibility to come here and again, communicate. I communicate with Mark quite often, but I want to communicate with the council.
Our concern too is, and Dave's right about debris and stuff, that's gonna possibly go into that drain opening at the wall that is on, on the east side of your property that goes underneath,
Shopping center.
the shopping center. I don't know where exactly it comes out of. It meets over there at Cascade and then goes across. But we don't want, to fill up with mud either, off your property and fill up that drain. So it seems to me we need to be doing something about it.
Once
Ms.
the
Hill.
project starts, how long do you foresee it to completion?
Well, the drainage portion that we're discussing that the city is concerned with here, I need about a 3-month process to complete that portion of it.
Well, my
But the
concern-
actual overall process, the whole project, including the car wash, would be about
I'm not
6
concerned
months.
about car wash, I'm concerned about the drainage. My concern is, you're planning on starting this in the El Nino season, and once you start digging a hole, when that rain hits, you're not just gonna have water going everywhere, you're gonna have mud going everywhere. And it's gonna go into the next door neighbors, down the street, into the bank across the street, it's gonna go everywhere.
Actually,
Is that not, isn't that kind of a concern, the mud will go everywhere?
Well, again, we've been building for many years, and we've dealt with many years of bad weather and rain, and we actually built the Taco Bell when we were pouring concrete when it was raining, so very familiar with how to handle situations like that. But our goal is, of course, is we're not going to be digging up a hole and leaving it open if we know it's going to be raining 3 days in a row. So what we do is that, without getting into complete detail of how the construction guideline works, but the first thing we do is dig and put the pipe and make that connection. And then we also spread the dirt across the project so you don't have big piles of dirt when the rain is coming. So we are very mindful of that. We have to also do what they call a SWIP, which again, more details, but what's required is stormwater retention and run it off that have to require the state of California, that we have to, when we do construction, we have to follow certain mandates to make sure we don't have runoff, these type of things. So there's a lot of requirements that are on top of the project that all have to coincide to make it work.
Is your plan to get that drainage completely finished before you start that car wash?
We have to, yes. The grading has to be done on the project before we can build any building. That has to be first
So
priority.
the drainage will be complete before the car
Complete.
wash?
So yes, that is our number one process, getting that done and moving on with this. But again, everything needs money and funding. And again, we had to get our money approved and funded before we could start a project. And, I didn't want to go out and spend, $120,000 of our own personal dollars trying to improve a drainage problem without having everything in place, and having the design in place, the storm drain correct, having the plans approved and the parcel mass split. It is a lengthy process, and it says that the council here just approved the parcel split in July, or end of July, I believe. So we've been working on this project since that moment in time. So we have been definitely heavily working on this, but it's just a process, and we are moving along on it. As you can see, like you just said, you have a beautiful project. The hotel opened up. No idea why it took so long, but it took extra time. But now it's open, it's going great, and
If I may, Mayor?
it takes time.
Mr. Cryer.
I understand your situation, because in our operation, we have a lot of drainage and all that stuff, and sometimes you gotta tie things in together and you wanna do it all one time, so I have to do it twice, and it's your property, and you understand the dangers and the possibility of what could happen, and that's risk you're willing to take. The question is, if we want to go ahead and extend, taxpayers' money to extend your project and stuff and to help you out. That's the question right now. And I don't have a problem with it, because I think you're showing good faith in what you're doing in Taft and your construction and all the tax money you're bringing in, the jobs you're going to be hiring, the people and stuff. And I see that, good, as a good for Taft. And I think you understand the risk you're taking. If you do get a flood, there's going to be your profit and your deal. I think our concern is the neighbors around the area might be affected on there.
Of course, and I thank you for saying that, and I will always, I think we do take mind about all of our neighbors and our, again, we are City of Taft as well, because, without the patrons that live in the city, we can't operate and run our business, so we depend on everyone here on a daily basis, so of course, everything we do is in the mind of making sure our neighbors are happy.
If I
Mark,
may,
do you have anything to add to this discussion or recommendations or?
Everything's been pretty accurate. I saw some faces. He's been interchanging council for commission. The project he's been referencing, we approved at the Planning Commission in July, which was the additional commercial building work that will occur there. And then the lot split he's referring to separates the car wash from one of the two retail buildings. So you will see something that mimics what he has out at Highway 119 and 43, just to clear some of the project work that he's been working on. But other than that, from what everybody's been saying regarding the drainage, it's been pretty accurate.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bryant?
One point of clarification, Mark.
Yes.
Did the council extend this as a good faith, or did the contractor come to us and ask us for this?
Well, I think I didn't put in this staff report. It was in the original one on the letter signed last year. This was a similar drainage offer to the residential tract back in 2008, 2007. And since the drainage...
What he's asking for, they didn't ask us for it. We offered it up at that time to Lockwood to try to spur him on to get the...
Because it's an impact that impacts both that residential tract or this property, and now coincidentally with him purchasing the property to the west, it's all his property now. But yeah, it was a consistent offering of splitting the costs only to the drainage. It doesn't cover anything else on the improvements of the site.
if I may, Mr. Mayor, I would make a motion that we honor our commitment to the 23rd of December. By honoring that, this is my motion, and that would be that as long as all the engineering and the plans for the drainage itself are submitted and approved by the 23rd, that the offer for the sharing of expenses be good for 6 months after that date. So that gives him until the original date, the intended date, that we would share the expense. So you have until that date to submit and have approved the engineering and planning, which I think you just told me you already have that. And then you would have an additional 6 months, because after all, we've spoken about El Nino and its impacts on that area, but you also assured us that you can deal with that because you are a professional developer. So you would have 6 months in which to complete the improvements to the drainage, not the other improvements or developments you're talking about, but the drainage itself.
And
that would be my motion.
That's exactly what I was looking at. The only thing I would ask you, if you mind clarifying that, is the approval process, I have no control. If I submit plans, let's say this coming Monday, which is going to be the 19th, the 21st, which is Monday, I don't believe Jerry Helt is going to approve and stamp and give me back and put that plan within 2 days. What I would request is if you allow me to at least have them submitted, and the city of engineer, which is out of my control, we will do everything to make sure he approves the plans. But we're in great communication with Jerry, and my engineer, Bruce Anderson, and Matt from Pinnacle work hand in hand with Jerry. So I would request if we could make that motion, but with the understanding of me at least getting the plans in for submittal by then, pending Jerry's approval.
Does the plan you're submitting, is it the same plan that was approved before, the pipe going down the alley, or was the design changed?
Again, I am not aware of the original plan done with the previous developer. That was not done by me. I don't have those plans. I just went to Pinnacle because I knew they were aware of the whole situation, and so the way they designed it.
How does the proposed drainage work that you have?
They have, the way Matt has designed it is, from my understanding, is they're taking the drainage through the alley into, with putting a block wall up to keep the water retention out and keep it down the alley into, there's a current basin there, then
so you take all surface flow instead of pipe.
The surface flow outside, there's two ways of doing it. We have that, and we also have an on-site as well too, so if there's any overflow, we'll take it on the property, underground, and take the catch basin as well. So we're actually, I'm not sure the previous design how it laid out, but what my concern was is I want to make sure there's no problems. Again, I own this property. I don't want there to be any problems in my with our taco or future retail. So we have it catching on-site and off-site and taking it both directions to this catch basin, and that is how he believes it's going to work.
If I may, Mayor, the intent of the incentive that the city offered was based on the original design, which did not include surface flow water down the alley. I don't know what they're proposing, but I will have to review it and the city engineer will have to review it, so.
And again, that's all we're trying to do is make sure the city is approved on it. By no means are we trying to design anything that is not approved by the city. So we're trying to submit designs that the city is approved of. And again, they're working directly with Jerry and the city engineer to make sure it's designed correctly.
Okay, well, I would amend my motion then. I would amend my motion that you have the engineering and the plans for approval submitted prior to that date, but in order to get our matching funds, you still have to have a approved, completed project ready for inspection and exception by 6 months from that date.
And that's what I was requesting. I have no problem making that accommodation on our.
That would be my motion.
Mr. Jones?
I believe that's fair.
So,
Well, if the plan is different than what you had.
so sometime in January, the plan's gonna
He's got to get it approved.
be approved, assuming from health. If you get it to him Monday, everything you've got in your pocket, you're gonna have Monday, the 21st, and then health will have it, I assume, the same day. And so upon his review and it doesn't have to, does it come back to the council then, or is it?
No.
No,
No,
okay.
it just has to be reviewed by an
It'll
engineer
go
in the
through
city.
staff review and city engineer review. But it mean the holidays.
So once the plans are approved by staff and health and you and everybody signs, then you've got 6 months from that date.
Correct,
Is
and
that
that's the
what
one
you're
I'm
saying,
requesting.
Mr. North?
He's got 6 months from the end of the original guarantee, the 23rd of December, to have the project completed and signed off in order to qualify for the match. You have to submit those plans and engineering that you have to staff right away. It's going to be in your best interest. Bearing in mind that it is the intent of both you, the developer, and this council, and we're thinking of public safety and the integrity of your development as well, but also the incentive being this is a time issue as well. So we understand that things take time. So all those things added up, and this is what I'm laying before the council as a whole.
Till June, we extend it till June 23rd.
That is correct.
Yes,
For
that was
completion of the
perfect, yes.
project. Period.
Busy.
Okay, you have that, Madam Clerk? Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Do we have any further discussion or comment? You, Mr. Upson, and Mr. Jones will get it all figured out?
Yes.
Okay. So the gist of it is we're extending your, this offer until June 23rd, 2016.
Correct, sir, yes.
Okay, there we go.
As long as we get the approval of the paperwork in by the 23rd.
No, the project has to be complete and accepted,
No, but we have to get all the stuff turned in for approval by the 23rd.
submitted prior to December 23rd, which he says he has it available. They won't have time to review it and approve it. The holidays are here and everything. But yes, your good faith is you've done all this work, you were constrained by time, and you had the roadblocks, and you've gone through the roadblocks and over the speed bumps, and you've gathered up the stuff, you can submit it to staff, they can review it, and you said you can probably do it in 3 months, but we have 3 months of very wet weather coming. So in the interest of being fair and safe about this, we're going to give you 6 months.
That's all I ask.
Mr. Job, we are just delighted with your project and your proceeding to do something with that kind of an eyesore up there, that vacant land. We're glad you're here with the city of Taft. But you have to know that we have to be cognizant of city funds and what we do with those funds, and when we help a private entity by extending city tax dollars. So that was our main concern tonight, that we did that. We're not seeing anything, and now we're asking for an extension. So the well only runs dry one time, so you have until, June 23rd. We hope that that project is completed by then, and it'll be a proud addition to the city of Taft. We're delighted that you're going to be doing something with that property you bought to the west of your property, and hopefully that'll be something that you'll be proud of and we'll be proud of too. So anything's better than an empty blank wall and a bunch of dirt, so.
That's the idea. I think Main Street's, Current Street there is a great thoroughway, and needs
sure is.
much is on it, much development and new construction as it can have. So we're definitely want to be those people.
Well, thank you so much. Then, Madam Clerk, will you take roll call, please?
Yes. Councilmember North?
Yes.
Councilmember Pryor?
Yes.
Councilmember Bryant?
Yes.
Councilmember Hill?
Yes.
And Mayor Miller?
Yes. And thank you so much, sir.
Thank you guys. Have a Merry Christmas, great holiday, and talk to you good New Year. Okay.
You also. Thank you. That comes to a close of our regular meeting. We'll be going into closed session for 3 items. Item A, conference with legal counsel. Anticipated litigation, Government Code, Section 54956.9B, 2 potential cases. Item B, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, Government Code, Section 54956.9A, Sierra Club versus City of Taft and the Taft City Council. Item C, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, Government Code Section 54956.9A, Taft Union High School versus City of Taft. We are now in closed session. We thank you.